Come in, make yourself comfortable. Welcome to the Howard home. Z and the kids are out for a bit, so I'll give us a chance to talk. The name is John, but most people call me JD. I'm a wheat speculator, so I'm away a lot. Lucky you caught me in. I'm always glad to do my bit for law and order. Tell me, is it actually true that you Pinkerton men never sleep?
We do our best.
Glad to hear it. Makes a man feel safe knowing you're on the job. Anyway, I guess you've come here to learn about Jesse James. You've come to the right place. I see you already noticed some of my souvenirs. That's Jesse's mama. She was a big influence on Jesse. You can see her empty right sleeve in the picture. That's thanks to you Pinkertons. And that's Jesse when he was a kid. His mama loved that picture. Yep, I probably know Jesse James better than I know anyone. Know him like I know myself. Jesse was born in Kearney, Missouri, September 5th, 1847. Grew up there too, in the middle of Clay County, or Little Dixie, as some people called it. A lot of people settled there from the upper south, saw themselves as Southerners. Jesse was like that. There was no question he was going to fight for the Confederates once war broke out. His brother Frank joined up in 61, and Jesse signed on with Quantrill in 64. He was about 16 at the time. He became a guerrilla fighter, and a damn good one too. Quantrill said he was one of the best men in the outfit. I imagine some people think that it must have been horrible for Jesse being with a guerrilla group. The things he must have seen and did at such a young age. Some people called Quantrill and his men butchers, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. People need to understand something. The war here along the Kansas-Missouri border started long before some shots were fired in South Carolina, and it didn't end because some paper was signed in 65 in Virginia. Jesse grew up seeing murders and lynchings. Before he even left to join Quantrill, he saw his stepdad, Doc Samuels, tortured, his farm burned, and his family and neighbors driven out under Order Number 11. So don't even tell me Jesse didn't have cause to hate or reason to do what he did in the war, along with every man that rode with Quantrill. They were just setting things right. Anyways, after the war, guerrilla fighters in places like Missouri and Kentucky didn't get to surrender like everyone else. They had fought in the South. They didn't get any amnesty. All they had waiting for them was jail, a bullet, or even a rope. So when people talk about Jesse turning an outlaw, they got it all wrong. The war made him a so-called outlaw. So Jesse signed on with a bunch of ex-guerrilla fighters under Archie Clement, and they did what they could to harass the Yankee government, now running Missouri. Jesse wasn't about to sit back and see his southern way of life disappear. So when Archie Clement died in 66, God rest his soul, Jesse took over the gang from there and went on. Jesse had quite a career. Over the next 16 years, he and his gang robbed at least 12 banks, 7 trains, and 5 stagecoaches, covering 11 different states and territories. His total raise, a term that Jesse used when he would make a cash withdrawal, was about $500,000. Not bad, eh? He also personally killed about a dozen men, but all of them had it coming anyways. I imagine you'd like to know what his secret was, how he stayed so successful for so long without getting captured for so many years. Well, I'll tell you. The most important thing was his gang. Most of them were ex-Confederates, ex-Confederate guerrilla fighters. They fought well together and they were tight, so Jesse could trust them and to lead, and they trusted him to lead. Here, take a look at these pictures. Jesse was so proud of his gang and so confident that no one could outsmart them, that he even invited people to come photograph them. No one could touch them, not even, until Northfield, Minnesota in 76. Jesse decided to hit the National Bank there. He heard that they had $75,000 in uninsured money. Even better, he heard that the bank was run by Butler, the Beast of New Orleans. It was a perfect setup, but then everything went wrong, starting with the cashier, who refused to open the safe, even when Jesse held a knife held a knife to his throat, something like this one right here. Around here, we call this an Arkansas toothpick. Even when Jesse pistol whipped him, uh, he still wouldn't cooperate. So before Jesse left the bank with only $26 to show for his trouble, he shot him in the head. Jesse once wrote in the newspaper that any man who was stupid enough to challenge an experienced outlaw who has a drop on him deserves to die. That was a stupid cashier. The worst of it, though, was that his gang got shot up. Clell Miller, Bill Stiles, and Charlie Pitts were killed. Clell, they just left to bleed out in the middle of the street. Bill, I heard some doctor shipped him back east in a pickle barrel and put on display in some medical school. And poor old Charlie, they left him on display in the town square until he rotted. And they all called Jesse and his gang animals. The three younger brothers, Bob, Jim, and Cole, were shot up real bad and captured about a week later. Now they're all serving 25 years in some lousy Minnesota prison. You might not know this, but the youngers are actually Jesse's cousin. He really misses them, and he and his brother Frank are the only ones left after Northfield. Since Northfield, Jesse has never really had another gang he could trust. It's been 6 years, and most of the good men, the ones he had been through the war and shared what Jesse had lived, are either dead or in prison. He has to rely on young, inexperienced drifters, scums, a lot of them. Can't really trust them. The governor of Missouri wants Jesse and his gang, but he knows even if he captures Jesse, no jury in Missouri will ever convict him. And that's a big part of why Jesse was so successful for so long. You see, the people of Missouri, especially the poor rural folks, protect him. Many see him as defending the Southern way of life, refusing to let the Yankees take over. They also see him attacking the banks and railroads, which doesn't bother most people because the banks and railroads have been busy since the end of the war, stealing people's land, using high interest rates and even goons like you, Pinkertons, to gobble up people's farms. Jesse also has a newspaper on his side, the Kansas City Times. They published his letters explaining his side of things, and the editorials make him seem sort of like a Robin Hood. The banks and railroads have hired hundreds of Pinkertons to try and track Frank and Jesse down, but most folks in the border states hate you because you helped the Yankees during the war. You don't even know what Frank and Jesse look like. No, Jesse is safe in Missouri. That's why he never strays too far from it. Even so, the governor is smart. I'll give him that. He picked up a few of Jesse's gang, and they talked. He knows that Jesse's gang aren't like the old one. There are men who can be bought out. Put a huge price on Jesse's head, they'll go for it. Jesse had better watch himself. Good thing he always carries 4 revolvers, sort of like these ones over here. Thing is, Jesse's always going to have the last laugh. Jesse knows he's not going to die of old age. Wouldn't want that. But he's always going to be remembered for his daring, for his style. Even now, they even have plays about him. Back east, he's a hero in all those dime novels. No, Jesse is always going to be remembered. People are always going to be looking over their shoulder, wondering if he might suddenly show up, wondering if they might even be staring at him right now in the eyes and wouldn't even know it until it's too late.